I know the entire state of Utah is excited about this announcement today that 2034, the games will be hosted there. Now let's get an athlete's perspective. Apolo Ohno, who came to fame in Salt Lake in 2002, how excited were you? And obviously, judging by the attire, you had a part of this process as well.
Yeah, I had a small part of the process, but the team did an amazing job. It was an incredible presentation. Utah is a powerful place, right? It was the place of my first Olympic Games, and the fact that it's coming back now, 10 years from today, feels like a long time, but this is another incredible opportunity to showcase the best of what Utah has to offer. Not only the nature, not only the mountains, not only the geography, not only the culture, but the people, the warmth, and we did it before. I mean, hosting the games in 2002 was, and still by far my favorite Olympic Games. And it was so memorable. Those life lessons that I learned from those post 9/11 events that were there, that unifying moment it was riveting. And I swear to you, today, I take life lessons from those 22 years ago are still here, and I take them with me today. So I was ecstatic.
I still remember that when they brought out the World Trade Center flag. And
Yes.
Mark Grimet, an athlete I was covering, was one of the flag bearers. As an athlete, how caught up in emotions did you get with just that scene, but then just the patriotism that we experienced hosting the games back then?
I think those are the moments where individual athletes who come in individual sports, like a short track speed skating, the shift happens, as it did for me, when you think about, I go from me to we. And it's that instantaneous shift, and you recognize that these games are so symbolic and representative of something so much larger. And just like today, in a very bifurcated, almost unhinged society of belief systems, we need these types of unifying events. We need to rally behind something that is foundational to who we are, to our truths. And that's why I love sport. Yeah. And that's the chance, I think, that I know that Utah is the best place on the planet to host.
You mentioned favorite games. You competed in Salt Lake City, you competed in Torino, you competed in Vancouver. Why was Salt Lake so special to you?
I think it's the culmination of events that leading up to the games. Obviously, the devastation from 9/11. This was a different time, right? There wasn't a lot of social media. There wasn't a lot of cell phone usage and people on their phones all the time. So people were really living the event, right? When they listened to a concert, when they talked to one another, when they were watching the competition, they really watched it. They really felt it. It was really important. When they were with their families at home watching it, they was really together. And as we, accelerate through society and use technology, things change very quickly. So, I long for the days of the simplicity that we had. There's something very powerful about that ingrains in your mind and your psyche. And obviously today is a very different day, and I'm going to be watching and cheering on the next generation of athletes. And hopefully whatever will transpire during those games in Salt Lake City and leading up to will motivate and inspire the next generation of athletes who are either going to compete on the Olympic stage or who have dreams of, or at least take those life lessons and apply it towards academics, towards their business, and towards their own life in dealing with whatever types of challenges, mental and physical, that life will throw at them.
Yeah, a lot easier to be present back in 2002 in the moment.
Less options.
Yeah. What's your advice to people that'll compete on the Olympic stage going forward? Do you tell them, put the phones away, just take it in?
I think the reality of what sport is today, especially amateur sports and the Olympic sports, is because of the power of the cell phone compute, you now have access to the world. So you can self-market, you can find your own deals, you can become a personality far bigger than anyone else, even if you actually aren't that performant in your actual sport. Yeah. So there is a fine line. We know that being present, being in the flow state, and performing at your absolute best requires huge amounts of discipline and hard work and perseverance and resilience. And sometimes when you're staring at your screen all the time, your energy naturally is distracted. So if I was a coach today, there would be cutoff times. Yeah. Obviously you can't be completely detached away from these devices, but the human experience is designed to be fully immersed in something. That's your art form. That's how you be your best. And if you're holding on to something that's distracting you, you know that that's going to be a distraction.
I know you probably spent more time in that Olympic Oval in Kearns than almost anybody. How does that facility compare to others that you've competed in or trained in?
Well, Utah is home of the fastest ice on the earth, right? Many records have been broken there. The facility has been still in incredible condition. I think what's going to be interesting is seeing how much more the impacts will be. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's going to be some level of refurbishment on some of these venues, but we're using almost every single venue that we have in Utah. I mean, that's remarkable. The culture of sport in the state of Utah is unrivaled. People have hosted this large event before in a very uncertain time that was very chaotic. So we've got all these very powerful factors. You look around the room of the folks that have been here supporting, just here having lunch today, and you realize and recognize many folks don't have to be here.
Right.
They're not doing it for any other reason except for they want Utah to be the spotlight. And to me, that means doing the right thing, by the right rules, and helping showcase the best of what Utah has to offer. So it's really cool.
Last thing I want to ask you, Apolo, is the IOC kind of grandstanded a little bit there about the doping at the end. As an athlete, somebody who competed against, and I'm sure some people who bent the rules a bit, were you happy to see that stand that they've taken now?
So I think we're entering into a world where, look, you've got WADA, the World Anti-Doping Association, USADA, U.S. Anti-Doping Association, and they're two separate entities. They work cohesively together, or they're supposed to work cohesively together. And when you have these instances like what happened years ago, this is an event that happened years ago, by the way, and they're talking about this. This just means that ever more present that sports should be separated from politics. It should be a place where we no longer take this into consideration, and it should never be used as an outlet in any possible way. And so I think the statements today were in earnest to say, we want this to remain true, the transparency of what sport is, and there has to be checks and balances involved, and making sure if you sign on to these contracts, this is who will be involved with the U.S. Doping Association or the World Anti-Doping Association. And I think the goal here is not to create bifurcation. The goal is to create synergy and collective unification around the same goal: clean sport, safe athletes, and open playing field. I think if you can accomplish those, that's the ultimate goal. So I think while it may have seemed like it was a long-standing challenge, this is a years-long process, I empathize with where that's coming from. And I think trying to maintain the integrity of what the Olympics stands for is important.
Great perspective from one of the all-time greats, Apolo Ohno. Congratulations on helping Utah obtain this bid, 2034. Let's go. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again.